Welcome back to another episode. So today we're going to talk about Python lists. And Python lists is a type of object which we can manipulate and we can store things inside of the list. Lists are indexable. We write them with square braces, and lists can hold strings or Boolean values or integers, or we could hold other lists inside of a list. So now why don't we build a sample of list in code? So the syntax for that is the name of your list and then followed by these square braces. So if I want to create a list of foods, there'd be strings. So we'd say apple, banana, and pear. Okay? And we can also create a list of numbers, integers. Why don't we call these ages? And because they're integers, we don't put quotes around them. So we'll say 22, 23, 24. Now we have a list of strings and we have a list of integers. And now we can even create a list of other lists by just calling them. And so we could call more things. If I wanted to call the apple, I would just do a comma. I could say food bracket 0. So if I hit save and I hit run, you'll see that I'm going to call banana then apple, right? This is 1, this is 0. Lists are also mutable, which means that you can change the item value stored at a particular index. So let's change the value stored at the second index of our food list. We'll change pear and we'll change it to orange. So we'll erase this out and we can say food. I want to change the pear, so that's the second index position. I'm going to say it's going to be now equal to, and we'll say orange. And then to prove what we've done, we'll say print food. So I'm going to hit run. And now we have apple, banana, orange. And yes, when you print out a list, you're going to have these braces and you'll have exactly what you've written, all the quotes too. To prove that we made this change, I'm going to put a print statement right here as well. And I'm going to print the food list first. I'm going to change it on line 3, and then I'm going to print it again on line 4. And then you can see the change yourself. So I hit run. We have apple, banana, pear. I've made the change. I've changed food to orange, and now we have apple, banana, orange. So why don't we do a 5-minute challenge? Why don't you create a list of colors? We'll say red, blue, and green, and then ask the user for a color, and then we'll replace red with that. So you can pause the video now, you can code it, you can run it, and if you've got it working, come on back. Even if you don't have it working, come back and we'll talk about the code. All right, welcome back. So we're going to do the code for the exercise. So what I wanted you to do was create a list of colors. And so why don't we do that now? We'll say colors, and then we'll say red, green, blue. Then we're going to ask the user for a color and replace red. So we need to create a variable. We'll just say user's choice is equal to an input. They're going to input a string, so we don't have to convert this. And whatever they want to input. So we'll say, what is your favorite color? Or to be more clear, we should just say, what is another color beside red? But that's okay. And then we're going to do colors is going to be, colors 0 is going to be equal to the user's choice. And then we're going to print the colors list. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to run it. And then what we'll see is, what is your favorite color? And I'll say purple. And then we have purple, green, and blue. Okay? We can also add items to our list using the append function. If an append function is just a chunk of code that tells Python what to do. Really, that's all functions are. And so we're going to learn how append works, and we're going to add things to our list. So in this exercise of learning about append, we have our colors red, blue, and green. And then what we'll do is we're going to append it. And the way you append a list is by calling the list first, then doing dot append and a parentheses, and then it'll ask you, you have to, put in what you want to append. So why don't we add yellow? Oops. And then we'll print colors. I hit save and I hit run, and let's go find out what happened. We have red, blue, green, and yellow. So you've appended something to the list and it puts it at the very end. So here's a challenge for you now. Let's build on the last example. Why don't you create a list of movies? You can put any couple of movies that you want inside of it. Then ask the user for their favorite movie and then append that to the list of movies. Then I'll put the result back to the screen. Go ahead and pause the video, code that out, and then come back when you're done and we'll go over the answers together. All right, welcome back. So here we have our list of movies, and I've asked you to go ahead and then append it with the user's choice. So we're going to now have another variable called user's choice, or you can call it whatever you want. I call it user's choice. And then we're going to ask them again, what is your favorite movie? And then we're going to use the append function. So we're going to say movies dot append parentheses, and then we're going to drop in that variable of whatever the user said. We're going to print it to the screen, and we should see the result. What is your favorite movie? I'll say Mulan. There we go. Star Wars, Blade Runner, Mulan. Okay. That's great. And hopefully you have the same thing too. Now we're going to talk about the remove function. You've learned about how to add things. Now let's learn about remove. The remove function is just used to remove an element from the list. So removing an element from the list means we're removing it by its name. So if we look at our colors list, we'll say colors dot remove. And we're going to ask, what do you want to remove? So we put parentheses, it's a quote, and we'll say, let's remove red. When you print the result, you'll see that red is now gone. There you go. You just have green and blue. And you notice that this is a capital R in red because there's a capital R in here. If you don't put the capital letters, you're going to throw an error. And that's not what you want at all. We can also remove items by using pop. And pop uses its index value. So if we want to remove blue, so we do dot pop. Well, what is the index value of blue? That's correct, it's 2. So we do pop 2. And if we print the colors, we should see the output result. There it is. Red and green, no blue. Now we're going to learn about using join, the dot join function. And the dot join function will take your entire list and then turn it into a string. So this is important if you have a list of things and you want to finally output them to a string so you can manipulate it later, or you want to say, it makes it look cleaner when you print something out. Also, we need to use a separator that we can define when using the join function. So let's go back to this colors list. And if we want to join these things together, so if I just printed colors, let's look at it first. If I just printed colors, we get this, right? We get these square braces and these quotes, and we don't want that. We want to make it look cleaner. So we're going to say print, let's create another variable. We'll call it x equals, and now we need our separator. So we do a quotes, and we're going to say, what do we separate this by? Let's use the word and. Notice I put a space here and a space here. We're going to use the word and as a separator, and then we'll say dot join. What am I joining? Well, the colors list. And then I'm just going to print x. I run it, and there we go. Red and green and blue. You don't have to use and. You can use a comma if you want to. You can do that. Let's run it that way. Red, comma, green, comma, blue. Too many spaces. Let's go ahead and simplify it. Red, green, blue. There you go. Let's now talk about the words in and not in functions with lists. So the in and not in functions can be used to check whether an element exists inside of the string or the list or not. And then it returns a value of true or false. So we can say, is this inside this? Or is this not inside of this? Let's practice this with a little code, and I'll show you what I mean. First, we're going to create a list called stuff. And we'll say car, and then we'll say dog. All right? And I'm going to say print car in stuff. Is car in stuff? And it's going to return a value of either true or false. Well, is car in stuff? Yes, it's true. But what if you did a capital C? Will you get true or false? If you said false, then you're correct. Because capital C and lowercase c is a different thing. They're not the same thing. If we said, is cat in stuff? The answer is going to be false again, because it doesn't exist. So here's a little challenge for you. Why don't you create a list of stuff, then ask the user to see if their guess is inside your list, and we'll report if it's true or false or not. Go ahead and pause the video and then come back when you're ready, and we'll go over those answers together. All right, let's go over this answer together. So here's my list of stuff. We'll create a variable called choice, and we'll ask the user. We'll ask them. What's an input? Guess what is in my stuff? And whatever they say, you know, we can check. Oh, and let's go ahead and use the dot lower function that we learned from our previous lesson. Because why? Well, all the things in my stuff list are lowercase. So let's make sure their answer is lowercase as well. And then we'll say, we need to check now, right? We just say stuff, or we'll print choice in stuff. Okay? Let's run it. Let me clear my screen out. Here we go. Let's run it. And then guess what's in my stuff? Is apple. False. That's a fun game that you can write to test to see if something's inside of the list. And it's not just for games. You can also, if you're building a big data set, you can see if something's inside the data set, right? Like if you got a 1,000 name list, you want to make sure that someone is or is not in the list. So now let's learn about the length function. The length function, we're going to use the letters len, will return the length of the object or string and the number of characters in that particular string. So if we said print the len, or the length of hello, let's find out. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now some of you might get confused and said, I thought we count from 0. Well, when you return the length of something, you're counting the actual characters. So we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4. And we can also find the length of a list. So if we have a list of stuff again, I'm tired of using colors. Let's just do stuff. So dog, cat. And if we print the length of stuff, right? Stuff is inside of the length function inside of print. Okay. And I should receive 2 because I have 2 things, a dog and a cat. So the length function is important to determine the length of an actual variable or string or list. And remember that if you have blank spaces inside of it, that actually counts too. So if you had a variable with like 5 blank spaces, like you hit the spacebar 5 times, it counts all of those as spaces. Okay? And we can use that length function later, especially when you're learning how to use a loop and then to iterate through things. So the next thing I want to talk about is the lstrip and rstrip functions. And the lstrip and rstrip removes characters from the left and from the right based on our argument. So if people put too many spaces, we can actually get rid of those extra spaces as well. Okay, why don't we practice that now? So to pretend, why don't we have name equals, and then we'll have a bunch of spaces here, and then I'll put my name. Naturally, you would think that my name is only 6 characters long, but if I print the length of my name, it'll be significantly longer. So it returns 15 because it counts all these white spaces, and we don't want that. So to fix this problem, we can do name, and from here we can do lstrip for the left and .rstrip for the right. You can either remove left or right or do both. That's really up to you. But if I run this again, and now I receive 6, all right? Because I've removed all of the extra spaces. We can also use lstrip and rstrip to remove things from variables if we want. So let's create a variable called unreal. And I want to remove the un part, and I'm going to make an emphasis on that capital U. So I'll say print a.lstrip. I'm going to drop some quotes in there. I want to remove the un part. And if I run this, I should just get real. That's all we got left. So I've removed the un part and left real. All right, so you've learned about Python lists. You learned how to add things to the list, remove things from the list. You can ask users for information and remove those things from the list as well. And lists are great, especially when you're trying to store data in a 2-dimensional set. You've also learned how to remove extra white spaces at the beginning and end of things. You've learned how to strip out characters from the strings that you don't need. So if you've liked what you've seen and you enjoyed the channel so far, please subscribe, as we're going to do more Python and JavaScript videos later. And I look forward to your comments in the video if you have any. Until then, see you later.